My name is James Williams Jr. This is Skull Fabric number 2. This is my last video. It'll probably be a two-parter or a three-parter. And it's about being multicultural and not being accepted. Okay? So, I'm going to do that and you guys can, you can accept it or not. But I'm gonna give you, because it's from my point of view. So, you don't like my point of view, you can ask other people who are multicultural or who are biracial. Multicultural means having more than one or having more than two. I'm multicultural because at first, when I was a kid, you couldn't tell me I wasn't anything but black. And for the most part, I honestly only believed that I was black until my 5th grade teacher, Miss Conrad, pointed out my ethnicity. And when you are a child and you look at people in your family, it you don't see color. You don't see race because you're taught racism and color when you go to school. And for those who don't think you have not been taught racism or color, if you've seen Roots and you've had to watch it in school, or if you've seen Shaka Zulu and you had to watch it in school, they do teach you how to be racist. Because a lot of my white friends stopped being my friends after we watched Roots because they were scared that we would take out the actions of their ancestral past on them. And a lot of my black friends didn't like white people anymore because of the same bullshit. And I said, you can't hold someone responsible for something that their ancestors may or may not have done, because what if people don't understand it, there were white slaves. They were called indentured servants, but there were white slaves. Black people weren't the only ones that were slaves. There were white slaves too. And you can take that as a grain of salt, but you can fact check it. There were white slaves. White people who couldn't afford the trip to America to escape to a better life became indentured servants, and they got fucked too. They got totally fucked. And then, like I said, Native Americans got it the worst because they got annihilated for land that they were more than willing to share. But they totally got fucked. But, blacks got fucked. Whites got fucked. But Native Americans got totally fucked. And I'm sorry for using the fucking F-bomb, but there's no nicer way to put that. It's a true fact that they got totally ripped off, and no one wants to acknowledge it, no one wants to accept it, and no one wants to face it. No one wants to say, yeah, this happened. Oh yeah, it happened. You don't have to like it, you don't have to accept it, but yeah, it freaking happened. And it's fine if you don't like it. It's fine if you don't accept it. But the fact of the matter is, multiculturalness is here, and we're not going anywhere. No. Sorry if you hear that. I'm trying to find something I saw and I wanted to see and I can't find it now. What the hell was that? Oh dear. I can't show you guys that. That's Disney perversion, I guess. I can describe it. It was Mickey Mouse holding a dildo. So, that's not cool. And, I'll just leave that right there. I'll find it later, because this video is a little bit more important. When I was a child, growing up here in Charlottesville, and I went to Berlin Moran middle grade school, I went to Walker, and then I went to Buford, and then I went to CHS. So as a child, before I found out I was mixed, like in kindergarten, I can tell you, in kindergarten is probably the best time in my life, for the simple fact that no kids knew what the fuck mixed was. No, there were more than one black kid in the class. As I got older and got into higher classes, the black dichotomy of class kind of got less, and then more, and then less, and then more. There was always a flip-flop per grade. So, like, by the time I got to the 2nd grade, there were less black kids. Like, when the 1st grade, there were more black kids in the class, but we didn't outnumber the white kids. There was just more, and by more, there would be, like, at least 4. And then, like, in kindergarten, there was, like, 5, but in 1st grade, there were 4. In 2nd grade, there were, like, maybe 5, maybe 6, and it flip-flopped. Like, every year it flip-flopped. Since I spent 2 years in the 4th grade, it flip-flopped twice there. By the time I got to the 5th grade and could understand how the world worked, that's when life took that culture slap to the face. And when I found out I was part Native American, it really fucked me up because, like I said, when you're a child and you look at your ancestors or your grandparents or your parents in general, you don't see race or color. You just see that's my mom, that's my grandma. And you don't recognize the differences because that's where you came from, you know? And I didn't recognize that my great grandmother on my father's side was an exceptionally light skinned lady. She was lighter than me. She wasn't high yellow. I mean, she could almost be completely Chinese looking. But she was Native American. And as I told you guys millions of times before, Native Americans are Asian. So we're not going to repeat that one more time. Native Americans are Asian, and she looked overly Asian. So I didn't pay any attention to that shit. I'm a kid. I just wanted to hear crazy stories about her and her brother John running through the woods in their moccasins and shit. And I got lots of stories, you know, and legends and things like that. Now, I don't remember most of the legends that she told me, but what's a legend? A legend is a facsimile based on factual events that has some truth to it. You probably guys want to go to find that on a dictionary because every dictionary is different. Now, let's talk about acceptance, right? Because by the time I got to middle school, this is where acceptance comes into play. I look mixed, so I would try to deny it when people would be like, "Are you mixed?" And I'm like, "No, I'm black. I'm black. I'm totally black." And they're like, "You can't just be black." And I was like, "Yeah, I am." And they're like, "No, because black people don't have curly hair." Fact check: Egyptians had curly hair. All right, so I would find a way to be as black as possible. Besides with my mouth, I would try to act black because I wanted to be accepted by blacks. I kind of really didn't want people to know that I was Native American because my greatest shame as a child, I wanted to be a cowboy. And because I'm also half black, they were black cowboys. In fact, historically speaking, blacks were the first cowboys. Now, most of them probably were on the run from the slavers, but blacks also served in the military. And you don't get to get all that because you had black soldiers in the north and black soldiers in the south. But no black and white soldier could ever be buried together, even if they died together, brothers in arms. Because they made movies about that with Denzel Washington and Matthew Broderick. And yeah, they were Confederate black soldiers. Whether you stood for the South or not, these guys fought because they wanted to fucking be free. As a black slave that was a soldier, you had a little bit more enmities than as a black slave who was just a fucking slave. And 9 times out of 10, those black slaves that were soldiers were still fucking slaves. And the only reason they were in the Southern Army because their masters were commanders in the Army. Alright? Now, there was no Marines back then, so it was just Army versus Army. Alright? Now, I know you're all thinking, well, damn, James, you didn't have to bring that up. Yes, I did. Because a lot of the times, growing up multicultural, I've had a lot of rejection from mostly black people, alright? And I say that because to make it factually correct, back in Berlin, Iran, we had a race war, and my black friends and my white friends were on opposite sides, and neither one of them wanted me on their side. The exact words were, "We can't trust James because James is half black, and he might tell all the black kids what we're planning." And the black kids felt the same way, but they were a little bit more direct about it. "We can't trust James because he's not a real nigger, he's a half nigger." Because by this time, they've seen my off light skinned mother. In other words, my mom could pass for a white lady. And it only got worse until I got to Walker. When I got to Walker, I started accepting my heritage a little bit more. And I started relating more to Native American stuff and could care two shits about black shit and white shit, except for in the music I listened to. And this is where being multicultural became a problem. Because most black people, I listen to Kid and Play, I listen to Public Enemy, and I listen to NWA. And though I love those musics, I was more in love with rock and roll music. So, CCR, Zeppelin, Aerosmith, you know, Kansas, Phil Collins, people who sung white rock and roll music or pop music was more to my feeling. So here's how this goes. I played this role, and you'll love this because most multicultural people do this. They will not admit this shit, but I'm not ashamed to admit that, like, when I went through black neighborhoods, I played black music. not as a way of respecting them, but as a safety mechanism. Now, when I went through white neighborhoods, I played white music because everybody loves Phil Collins. So I played Phil Collins, I played Patti Smythe, I played some Joan Jett, you know, Janis Joplin, CCR, and this is for white neighborhoods. I even had the tape specifically made for when I go through neighborhoods. Yeah, I said tape. You know, you put them in a tape deck. So side A would be black music, and side B would be white music. So I could flip it over when I'm driving because we didn't have cell phones and nobody had texting and driving issues. And a good driver could pop a tape out, flip it up, and still be focused on the road. And I could do that. So I'd be driving my little Turismo up, hit a white neighborhood, click. Then the tape deck also had that button where you can switch it automatically. You didn't have to take it out. When I figured out what that button was for, I stopped taking the tape out and flipping it. I just hit the little button and it would switch back over. Because I'm kind of stupid, so I didn't know what that shit was. So when I go through a white neighborhood, she's an easy lover. She get a hold on you, believe it. Hit the projects. Motherfuck war. I ain't going to war for no shit-talking president. Fuck a war. That would be Ghetto Boys for those who don't know that song. And I did this as a defense mechanism because when I go through a white neighborhood, if I played Phil Collins as loud as I could, I wouldn't have to worry about anybody pulling my black ass over or calling the cops on me and saying, yeah, we have a person of color, and by person of color, they usually express the word nigger, driving through our neighborhood. And I have been pulled over because of somebody borrowing my car and driving through a neighborhood, and I happen to be in the car after them, and I get pulled over, and they're like, oh, well, is this your car? Yes, it is, blah, blah, blah. Didn't get a ticket for it. We specifically had a discussion, and I said, well, I lent my car to one of my family members the day that this happened. I said, yeah, that was like a couple of hours ago. I said, yeah, well, this happened, and my uncle or my aunt or whoever I lent the car to needed the car. I had to go to work. I'm off of this job, and I have to go to my other job, etc., etc. And this happened with more than one of my cars. So, you know, you kind of got to dig in deep with these things. And now, you know, as I got older and I have more Native American features, I've been mistaken for Chinese people and black Chinese people. And before Tiger Woods came out, there was me. And then when Tiger Woods got popular, I was like, hey, you know, you could look like Tiger Woods. And I was like, well, actually, I'm older than Tiger Woods, probably like a year or so older. And none of my parents really were sports enthusiasts, I guess. Well, I didn't like sports really. I like hockey. Don't have too many black people playing hockey when I was younger, and now there's like maybe 3 or 4 black people playing hockey. Most black people want to play in the NBA or play in the NFL, and I've never really been a football fan or a basketball fan. I was a soccer fan, and the only soccer person that I could relate to was Pele, but I'm not that big of a fucking fan. Plus, I had a really bad incident with soccer, so I hurt someone with a kung fu kick playing soccer, and I never played soccer again. I'll tell you guys that story before. So, here we go with acceptance. Alright, so now that I got y'all through the gist of that, let me get to you to the acceptance. Alright, so a lot of places where I would go in, when I would hang with black people, it was like, we know you're part black, but you're not really black. So, we're going to accept you while you're here, but personally, we really don't want nothing to do with you. Because you can hang with people while you're in school, but when they see you on the street, they don't want to fucking acknowledge you. And that goes for the light-skinned people who are secretly mixed and don't know it. I'll make another video.